In front of each of you is a notebook and a pen. To start with, I would like you to write, or if you don't have a notebook, to think about any questions. It can also be a question from the past that you haven't found an answer for. Don't worry, we won't be sharing these questions. To begin, I would like to call your attention to this very familiar object. This is a donut from Dunkin' Donuts. But a year ago, being a high school junior, I didn't know what it was. But now I know, because I asked my friends sitting at the table at the time what they were talking about. Obviously, there was a lot of laughter. And then they explained to me that a donut is just a pastry in the shape of a particle accelerator. Now that was because it was the only way I would get it. And I believe that everyone in this room can recount one time when they felt weird or embarrassed for asking a question. It can be from one of your classes today. It can be years ago when you were younger. Whatever your question was, I believe we all will learn something through it, no matter how silly, and even when we receive no answer. When we ask a question, we're conveying our ignorance toward a particular topic. This in itself is valuable because we now know that we're lacking knowledge in something. Well, I believe this can be a great thing because sometimes having a question is more important than having the answer. One of my first questions was, how did the orbit of the moon around the Earth and of the Earth around the sun create the phenomenon known as a solar eclipse? I began to find the answer by reading the only science book available in my house, an old Vietnamese astronomy book. It gave me some answer to my question. Solar eclipses are caused by the moon overshadowing the sun as it passes between the sun and the earth. But that didn't satisfy my curiosity. In fact, it created more questions. It is in the pursuit of the answers to the questions that I learned the interesting fact that although the moon has an orbital period of 29 days around the earth, we don't have a solar eclipse every month. But that still wasn't enough. I still had more questions. What did I do? I read even more books, English books this time. The question after question I had, starting from that first question, compelled me to learn basic English so that I could read or listen to information that were not available in my mother tongue. This ended up being the linguistic skills that allows me to access so much more information later in my life. More importantly, it lit the fire of passion for science in me. Learning a language and developing a love for science would have never happened if not for that single question I asked. Many people wonder what could give one the confidence to ask stupid questions. If you're doing the same, congratulations, you're asking a question. Personally, I gained my confidence by learning about a very special ape, a bonobo named Kanzi. Now, Kanzi is very, very lucky. He's not, stuck in the zoo or performing circus tricks. But what made him really special was that he was raised and taught by humans to understand a sort of language. He can communicate through sign language. Let me give you an example. Mean water for us in sign language. And Kanzi can communicate the same thing by pressing a series of symbols that say water. He even once communicated that he wants marshmallow and then roast it. He can do these complex tasks, but what the researchers have never observed Kanzi to do is to initiate a question. This was one of the most interesting things I learned in my life. It proves that the ability to question is a very unique ability. Animals don't ask questions because they cannot conceptualize that there is more than they're exposed to through their sense. Another way to put it, you won't be trying to look for a date if you can't imagine that there's a hot girl or boy out there. The ability for a human to intuitively understand that there is more to be learned and discovered is why we have progressed this far. This knowledge led me to the belief that whether it is your child, your student, your siblings, your friends, when someone poses you a question, the worst possible reply is to tell them to stop asking, or that questions are irrelevant. Unfortunately, too often, children are being conditioned to believe so in places where questions should dominate. Schools. When you're in schools, success is usually associated with high grades, achieved through knowing the right answer to questions on exam, while there are no clear rewards for asking good questions. Well, this is done so that the lesson would cover the material intended for the course the student is taking. Sometimes this can lead to the student being bombarded with too many facts, leaving them no space to contemplate about what they learn and be interested and curious in it. And in fact, the question that I've heard the most sitting in classes is this going to be in the exam? In other words, students are using questions to limit further exploration instead of using it to discover more things. If something is not going to be tested or graded, then naturally, students will not be inclined to investigate it deeply. Why is this so? Let's take a look at a regular student's report. The most important thing it says there about the course is an A, B, C, or D, which doesn't tell you how many questions a student asks or how curious he is in his course, but only the number of answers he correctly gave. As you can see, the value of questioning is underestimated, not just by the students, but also by society and many education systems in general. To further demonstrate this point, I would like everyone, especially the students, to think about this scenario. Given that you absolutely don't have to go to school tomorrow, and you still have enough money to spend for the rest of your life however you want to, will you return to school tomorrow? If your answer is no, then your answer demonstrates the failure of many education systems in instilling curiosity and the deep desire of learning, which, in the end, should be the true meaningful goal of schooling. We all know how students view school. You need to do the thing you need to pass your tests, get that A, get that degree, get that position, and make money. But also learning the fundamentals of each subject is important. Only by starting to question the knowledge that is given to us can we begin to extend the frontier of human knowledge. Sir Isaac Newton was a great student at his school. But how did he come to accomplish all that he did? Do things that set him apart from any other man in his time? He questioned everything. Why do things fall down? If things fall down, why doesn't the stars? Why doesn't the moon? It is these questions that led him to formulate calculus and discover the laws of planetary motion through gravity. These incredible advances in science at the time have been initiated from simple questions that is largely regarded as silly or irrelevant. Things fall down because they do. But now looking back, obviously those questions weren't so silly. The ability to always be alert and always question the world is arguably even more important than having the perfect transcript. Now, as much as we like to change the orientation of learning in schools to a place where questioning is more desired, in our fast-paced life, there is no easy and quick fix to do so today. However, the changes are much easier and much more effective if we start with ourselves. We need to change our attitude when we pose a question or when one is posed to us. One of the factors which kills questioning is the embarrassment associated with being belittled by asking a stupid question. This fear is presented in all of us, but it is something that we need to, and we can, take initiative to change. If you're the one who is struggling to find questions to ask, one way it can be helpful is to consume information that you're really unfamiliar with and do things that are outside your comfort zone. This would provide you the space to explore and to be curious about the world. Next is embrace the unexpected, even if that's the F you get on the math test or the essays that you spend your precious sleeping hours on for students, because this would give you the room to contemplate and really think why. Without it, getting your dream A+ all the time, and that's all you ever care to know about that topic. That will be the limit of your improvement. Finally, if you're the one with lots of questions but are struggling to find your confidence, think about how all the groundbreaking discoveries start with a question. Think about how nothing is eternal except for change. And meaningful changes only comes when we question what is unknown. Think about how your silliest questions might change the world. At the end of the day, curiosity and the ability to question is humanity's vessel in the great ocean of knowledge. We don't know to what water it would take us, but one thing is certain. Without this vessel of curiosity, fueled by questioning, we won't be going anywhere. Therefore, today, I would like you to go back or remember the questions that you've written or think about at the beginning of this talk. And go out there and find the answer for yourself. And ask anyone. And if you still think that your questions are too silly, remember that I once asked what a donut is. Thank you.